let's start, shall we? In case you expect me to say, since all my illustrious guest speakers have already said everything regarding regional regulations in Africa, protector of children against child labor, well, I won't say that. I will repeat the same thing, adding special African sauce and spice on it to make it more interesting for you. Well, my name is Marius Mensah, and I'm here to talk about universal and regional human rights instrument for the protection of children right in Africa. We can say that it's an honor for us to be before you, because talking about human rights, it means we care. It means we want to improve the situation. It means we acknowledge that not everything is already done. It means we recognize the lack of implementation and we want to improve the situation. Otherwise, we will not be here. Otherwise, we will not invite so many professors to talk about their point of view, their experience, and their teaching. And by doing so, we recognize and we know that there is a way for improvement, there are solutions, and this is exactly what we are going to talk about. So in Africa, we have also the Universal Human Rights Instrument, meaning the CRC is also applicable, of course, in Africa. We know that CRC, adopted in 1989, is the most comprehensive global treaty on children's rights. Of course, it covers and it stands on core principles such as non-discrimination, the best interest of the child, the right to life, and of course, the right to be heard, as we have heard about it right now. And it is also based on key protocols, key optional protocols, protecting against the children. And yesterday, if you remember, we spoke about the optional protocol to the protection of the right of the child on the involvement of children in conflict. We spoke as well about the optional protocol to the Convention on the Right of the Child on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography. We mentioned the optional protocol to the Convention on the Right of the Child on communication procedures, and of course, the International Labour Organization Convention number 182 on the worst forms of child labor. All those legal instruments are also valuable for Africa. They are also implemented in Africa. So when it comes to regional legal instruments, do not think or do not have the idea, well, these are separate instruments only. No. All the universal instruments are also applicable for regions. Why? Well, they are universal, right? So all the conventions that, of course, you heard of them right now from my colleagues are also applicable in Africa. But now, since my topic and my presence here is to introduce you particularly to the legal instruments in Africa, well, I will start then the task. In Africa, the African human rights system is a set of legal mechanisms addressing human rights across the continent. And it is crafted to tackle specific African issues that the countries in Africa are dealing with. And that is the twist about it. So the regional legal instruments, despite existing universal ones that I have just mentioned, are based, and this is very important, on cultural relativism, nuances, and geopolitical factors. Meaning what? Many African regional conventions incorporate provisions that address the specific realities of the continent, such as effort toward economic development and the fight against discrimination and poverty. Regional legal tools comprise institutions such as the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and the African Court on Human and People's Rights. So these two main pillars, grounded in the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, adopted in 1981 by the Organization of African Unity, today called the African Union. The Charter is also commonly known as the Banjul Charter. Well, you will know why it is called, or it is referred to as the Banjul Charter, a major step forward in the advancement of human rights in Africa. Now, why the Banjul Charter? The Charter is commonly referred as the Banjul Charter because it was drafted. It has been adopted in Banjul, the capital of the Gambia, during the meetings of the Organization of African Unity, the precursor of the African Union, as we mentioned. The Charter is unique and set unique provisions such as collective rights, the right of people to self-determination, and you have to understand this difference. Why? Because we are talking about countries that were colonies. We are talking about countries that were occupied. We are talking about countries that after occupation, after colonization, are trying to adopt their own human rights system. Of course, you have to understand that they will put in the center of the human rights legal instrument the right of self-determination, which is absolutely normal for that region, and that's why we are talking about regional legal instrument with, of course, the problems, the issues, the challenges proposed or facing every region. So the duties of individuals are also mentioned in the Charter, and the acknowledgement of traditional values in the context of human rights. So yesterday we heard of European values, and we Africans also, we do have our values, and all those values are mentioned in the Banjul Charter. One of the pillars of the Charter is the African Commission on Human Rights. So the Commission on Human Rights is the primary body responsible for upholding the Banjul's provisions. So it was established under Article 30 of the Charter to safeguard and promote human rights across Africa. And again here, what do you find? The Commission is headquartered in Banjul, the Gambia. And it is a quasi-judicial body, meaning what? Its recommendations are not legally binding. However, they carry significant moral and political influence, often pressuring states to honor their obligations. The Commission consists of 11 members elected by the African Union Assembly from experts nominated by the state parties to the Charter. On the other hand, we have the court as well, and now we are not talking about a quasi-judicial body, but the court is a binding authority and was established through the 98th Protocol of the Banjul Charter and came into force in 2004. The court decisions are legally enforceable in states that have ratified the Protocol of African Court on Human and People Rights, and even the states that have not ratified or that withdrew the ratification are obliged also to implement or to respect the decision of the court, and that is the big difference. The African Charter on the Human Rights and Welfare of the Child is the legal instrument when it comes to protecting children in Africa. Of course, that doesn't mean that we do not uphold the CRC, no. But as a regional legal instrument, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child is the instrument that takes into account African culture and tradition, marking a notable stride in protecting children's rights in Africa. It was adopted in 1990, so +1 after the CRC, and it complements the UN, the CRC, and incorporates African values. Now, if you open that charter, at the Article 2 already we have the definition of the child, and it is just like the CRC, anyone under the age of 18 without exceptions. So not 14, not 15, not 12, but anyone under the age of 18 without exceptions. We have core principles such as non-discrimination, best interest of child, the right to survival, the right to life and development. And in Article 5, we have the protection of life and development, and states must ensure this right is respected and not arbitrarily violated. It means every child in Africa has the right to live. Article 18, which is a specific one, recognizes the family, including extended family, as the natural unit for child upbringing and protection. Not many countries do that. Not many regional organizations have that provision. But we do recognize family and extended family. From Article 16 to 25, we provide, the Charter, provide protections against abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable children, including street children. Regarding armed conflict, as already mentioned, the Charter also in Article 22 strictly prohibits the recruitment or indirect participation of children under 18. In some countries, it's 15. But in this chapter, it is under 18 in armed conflict. Of course, we have the right to education and the protection against child labor. Part 2 of the charter also highlights the responsibilities of children. It is good to have rights, but it is also very good to have responsibilities, so you know you have to participate in the implementation of the charter. So our children do have responsibilities, and they have responsibilities toward their families, the society, and the state, such as respecting the parent, of course, helping others, and upholding African values. I am called to uphold African values. My children are called to uphold African values, and I am called to participate in the development of African society and to help the development of the continent. And that it is upon every African children. It is their right and their duty. From Article 32 to 46, we have the definition of the role of the African Committee of Experts on the Right and Welfare of Child. So you have to know that every legal mechanism has to be monitored, because without the monitoring structure, without the ability to monitor a convention, a charter, or a legal instrument, well, there is no result. There can be some kind of implementation, but without monitoring, no tangible result. And we do have that committee to monitor the results applied, implemented by states. And the committee also stands of 11 independent experts, and they serve a term of 5 years, renewable once. States to the charter must submit periodic reports every 3 years detailing their progress in implementing the children's rights, and the committee reviews the report and provides recommendations to improve their compliance. Now, what are the challenges of that committee? Well, the committee faced, of course, limited resources, financial, right? Every monitoring body do face sometimes those limitations, and in Africa, it's a reality. So the committee often struggles with financial and logistic constraints, impacting its ability to perform its functions effectively. Another challenge, of course, is the non-compliance by states, which is a classical one, not only to the African bodies, but a universal one, because many states sometimes or often do delay or fail to submit the periodic report or do not comply to the recommendations of the committee. I do have 1 minute left. And being given the honor to shortly introduce and explain how children's rights are implemented in Africa is an honor. Being able to talk about the bodies, the legal instruments, the mechanisms, the institutions of how human rights are upheld in Africa is also an honor. And of course, in the book that is written and that is being published by now, I think, you will have more information, more details on that topic. And should you have any questions, be free and feel free to contact me. Thank you.